was ironic. Oh, I think we're good. I think we're live. Okay. We are live. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. Mazel type. Okay. Daf Tes Zayin Amud Aleph. We already said Hashem was Matan Iyah Ta'am Me'ein Olam Haba. And we're kind of just like going through the Sefer and speaking about it, almost pasuk by pasuk. The Gemara Megillah does this with Megillah Esther. And I can't think of any other comparable Gemara where it does this, just going through the Sefer like that. Another messenger comes and speaks about a divine fire or a great fire that burned up the flocks, and I'm the only survivor. Camels gone by Chaldeans. Your children were celebrating in the eldest's house. A great wind came from across the desert. And it hit the four corners of the house, and it collapsed on them all. Tore his cloak. He tore out his hair. I emerged my mother's womb naked. And I will return naked. The Lord gave, the Lord took. May the name of the Lord be blessed. Throughout all of this, he did not sin or ascribe badness to God. Again, we're just like ripping through the Sefer. Again, the angels are standing. Where have you come from? He still maintains his uprightness, but his tamim, his simple goodness. And you seduced me, to devour him for no reason. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Dr. Without the pasuk, you wouldn't be allowed to say it. Ka'adam, as if it's saying about Hashem, he's like a man, that we try to seduce him to get something. Uvenisis in it, and you successfully do it. B'mas nisa ta'ana, we taught in a brisa. Yored umase, he descends and misleads. Va'ola umargiz, ascends and causes rage. Notel reshus, he receives permission. He takes permission for notel neshama and takes life. It's like Rashi, don't tell me menu from the king Hashem Rishos and this is the identification of the Yetzer Hara and the Satan and the Malach HaMavis. He's protecting himself with himself because he himself didn't get hurt. A man would give anything in place of his own self. Try striking his own body. Imlai el panachi varachaka, will he not curse you to your face? Hashem says to Satan, behold, is in your hands. But keep his life. And Satan smote Eov head to toe with dreadfulness. Rabbi Yitzchak says, the suffering that the Satan underwent is worse than the suffering of Job, because he had to afflict him without actually killing him. So Rashi Tzar Shel Satan shows Kalkulishmaras Nevish Ev Shalom Teitzei. Mashal Evich Amalei Rabbi Shavar Chavis Ushmaras Yena, like a slave whose master said, smash this barrel, which I think was made out of clay, but don't let the wine go out. Rish Lakish now says, back in that Gemara before, right? Yeredu Masa Elu Margas, V'netim L'Shomer, Rish Lakish, who Satan Yitzhar Hara, who Malach HaMaves, or identifying the Satan, the Satan with the Yitzhar Hara, the drive for evil, and also the angel of death, who Satan Dichsev Vayetzea Satan Meis Bnei Adonai. So it's talking about the Satan, and who Yetzirah is also the Yetzirah Ksiv Hasam Rak Rak Kolaya, and it's talking about for the Babel that mankind was only evil. Ksiv Hacha Rak Elav Al Tishlach Yadecha. Okay, Humanach Maves Techsev Ach Es Nafshay Shemar, guard his life. That it's something that's up to him to take or preserve Eov's life. Levi said, that they were doing it, the Satan who was provoking against Eov and Penina who harassed Chana were doing it for good purposes. Satan came into Chazia like Baruch Hu did not a daite basar Eov. That the Satan saw that the Holy One, blessed be He, was drifting away from Avram after Eov. Amar, the Satan said, Chas v'shalom, min shilei, Hashem might forget l'rachmanusei de Avram, his love for Avram. Penina dichsev v'chiasat atzar sagam koas ba'avor hara'ima. That Rashi ba'avor hara'ima, Penina harassed Chana to make her cry out. Shetisrayim Mashiachara v'tispalel, to make her daven. The Rosh of Achabar Yaakov b'Papunya of Achabar Yaakov said this publicly in Papunya, that the Satan and Penina were mechaven the Shem Shemayim, and Asa Satan Nashke Lekare, whatever that means, the Satan came and kissed his feet. Throughout all this, Job did not sin with his lips. Amarava bisfasav leichata, he didn't sin with his lips, but in his heart he sinned. My kamar, what did he say? That was, wait. Maika Omar. I think this is a new thing. Maika Omar. What is it that Eov said? Eretz nitma biyad rasha. The land is given into the hands of the evildoers. Pnei shevteh yichaseh, covering the faces of its judges he covers. Im lo yefai miu. And if it's not like that, then who is it? What is that saying? Amar Rava Bikesh. What? So he's explaining the pasuk, I believe. Amar Rava Bikesh Ev Lafich Ka'ara Al Piyah. That Ev was flipping over the entire platter. Lafich Ka'ara Al Piyah Zek Rashi Kloimar Lakar Kol Kavod Shechiref V'Gidev. That he was trying to say that there is no divine justice. Abaye said, no. He was talking about the Satan when he speaks about the evil, that the land is given over to an evil one. Kitano, it's machlekes Rava, and Abaye is machlekes Tanoim. Eretz, it's an Abiyad Rashar, Rabbi Eliezer, Aimer, because Yevlafach Kar Al Piyah, it's Rabbi Eliezer, just like Rava. And I'm going to be Yeshua, Liber Yev Eliklape Satan, which is like Abaye. Okay. Al daitecha kilay ershav im yodecha matzil. On against your knowledge that I will not do evil, and there is none to save from your hand. Amar Rava bikesh Ev liftas kol elam kulay min adin, that Eov sought to exempt the whole world from judgment. Any affair we do is compelled through Hashem himself. If you wanted it, I wouldn't have done evil. Master of the universe, Eov says, according to Rava's explanation. Barasa Shar, you created an ox, Parsaisa of Sedukais, and it has split hooves. Barasa Chamar, you created a donkey, Parsaisa of Klutais, and its hoofs are not split. They're one unit. Barasa Shar, Parsais, Parasais Sedukais, Chamar, Parasais Klutais, Zeti Arta, Zeti Mesa. And you're saying one is a behema Tahira, one is Tamea. But Hakol Ba Yadcha, it's all from you. The donkey didn't do nothing wrong. Atabarasa by Siman Hayatoma, you created it with what you're saying is not kosher. Barasa Gan Eden, Barasa Ganim, Barasa Tzadikim, Barasa Rishayim, Mimakiv Al Yadcha. Brasa tzadikim aditzer toy, brasa rishayim aditzer alfikach in nitzom yadcha ki mi hakev anus in henachoiten. Umaya hajle chavre de Eov. So what did Eov's friends respond? Af atata fair year by saying this, you are undoing the proper fear, reverence. And you are degrading conversation before God. What are we explaining this answer to mean? Indeed, Hashem created the drive to do evil, but Hashem made the Torah something to stop it. Literally, flavoring. She mivateles esirhure aveira, to negate thoughts of sin. If you meet up with this Yitzhahara, drag him to the base medrash. If his heart is rock, he will melt like lava. You have a way that you couldn't save yourself. So man is not just trapped. This is Eov talking about the better days of his when he was righteous and everything was good. The blessing of the lost one came upon me because I did good things for him. The Lev Almanah Arnin, and I made the heart of the widow sing. The blessing of the one who was losing. He thought we thought that he was going to lose his field. What's that? What does it mean that he had the blessing from those who had lost? Melamed, Rava says, this teaches us he would steal a field from the poor, and improve it, and then return it. That's interesting. Now make the heart of the widow sing. There's a widow that couldn't find a shidduch. Hava azil and shadi shmei ilava vavu asu nasvila. He would cast his name on her. Shadi shmei al ilava. Emershi krevasai. Talk about her like she's a relative. And medaber ba lahasiena, or like, oh, Eov's dating her, I think, or just speak about her to find her a shidduch. Lu shakol yishokel kasivavas even maisnayim. If my rage and words or suffering were weighed b'maisnayim in a scale, yisuyacha, they would weigh the same. Amar Rav says, Afra lepume de'iyov. Dirt. Eov's mouth deserves to be full of dirt for speaking this way. Chavrusa klape shmaya. What, you think you're on equal footing with God here? Chavrusa klape shmaya medam with nei ashlina gadam amizvakech lachavere bav nishkol michayev lachavere. Let's see which one of us is right. I mean, he said these things, right? Lo yesh beinenu meichiach. If only there could be an ombudsman, someone between us who could rule on which one of us is right. Yoshes Yadei al Shanei, no, could place his hand on both of us and deem which one of us is innocent. Amar Rav, again Rav says, Afra lepume de'iyov. Nusach acher is Amar Rava. Afra lepume de'iyov. Dirt to his mouth. Klumesh evich mechiachas rabbe. What, a slave rebukes his master? Eov continues in his accusations and arguments that he has done only good. Bris karati le'enai, I made a covenant with my eye. Is that where covenant eyes comes from? Umais bainan al besula. Why would I contemplate a virgin? That's by name. Amar Rava said, whoa. Eov is saying, I never looked at a woman another woman. Avram, even at his own wife, now I know that you're beautiful. He says to Sar, implying originally he didn't know. Kala anan vayelech. Vayelach, a cloud dissipates and goes. Cain, Yered Sha'ola Ya'aleh, so too when it goes down to the pit, does not rise. Amar Rava says, Mikan, from here we see Shekafar Yebitchias HaMesim, he denied the resuscitation of the dead. Asher B'Sara Yeshufeini, Yeb says, God breaks me down with a storm wind. V'hirbaf so I'm increasing my wounds needlessly, for no purpose. Amar Rabba said about this, he says that he said improperly that Hashem had pounded him with a storm wind. And he received his response from a storm wind. And now we're going to explain that it's not a sa'ar meaning a storm wind, it's sa'ar meaning a hair rash. She says, Amar Lafan of Eov said, Rebbeinu Shalom, Master of the universe. If you switch two letters, just slide them, it goes from Eov to Oyev. Maybe in your divine records there was a glitch in the programming, and instead of it saying Eov, it said Oyev, enemy, and that's why I'm getting blasted. And Hashem responded to him also from the Sa'ara. Hashem responded also from the Sa'ara, and we're going to speak about exactly what that is. As gird thy loins. like a man. I will ask you and you will tell me. Amar Lai, we're darshing. Hashem said to him, I created many hairs in a human. Each hair has its own, I think the word is follicle, a place where it emerges from. That you wouldn't have two hairs both connected to the same hole. Because if they were, that would diminish the light of the human's eyes. Does that mean blindness? Does it just mean the general fading? What does this mean scientifically? I have no idea. And even that subtlety of hair coming from its follicle. You think I would mess that up? Who divides things for the storm that ascends. There are many drops in the clouds. Each one of them has its own mold, so that two would not come out of the same one. Because if you would have multiple drops emerging simultaneously, does that mean the drops would end up merging, becoming mega raindrops that would be like water balloons or bigger, smashing the earth? Rashi says, and just destroying the land. But it doesn't. And that's not getting flipped. That's not getting messed up. And you think I'd mess up Eov to Oyev? My mashma we're darshaning that Mipile, who divided up Lasheteth for the storm, for the downpour, Ta'aleh. Is it Ta'aleh? Probably Ta'allah. Yeah. Ta'allah. A channel. But now the Gemara is saying that it means like it's like a mold for it. Amar Rabba bar Shela dechsev ayas te'allah kaves sosayim zera. This is by Eliyahu HaRakarmel that he makes a channel, but it's not something for the water to flow and get somewhere else. It was just like a recessed, indented area to fill with water. V'derech lechaziz kailais, and a path for the thunder. Harbe kailais barasi ba'avim. I created many thunder claps in the clouds. Each one has its own path. Two don't emerge from the same path. Because if two would emerge from the same path, then they would destroy the world. And if that doesn't get messed up, then I'm going to be messing up. Okay? Weiter. Yeah, what does this Gemara actually mean? We have no idea. Okay, the Gemara continues. Hayodata es ledis ya'ale sola. Do you know the times when the ibex of the cliff give birth? Cheleil ayalois tishmar. Do you know you can keep tabs on the birthing of the deer? Ya'alazu achzaris albaneha. You can have a ibex cruel to its children. When it's crouched to birth. I used to drop the baby off a cliff. And Hashem says, I arranged for an eagle to catch the baby doing a dramatic flyby. And if the timing is off by a split second, the baby goes splat. Ben regular and ischalifli, but I got those microseconds lined up perfectly. Ben you think I'm going to mess up who you are? This deer, its birth canal is very narrow. And when it is crouched to to give birth. And I arranged for a dragon, a serpent, Shemakisha, to bite her in that area. Umis Rape Vieledes. Ooh, interesting. Umisrape. The Bach changes it to Misrape with an aleph, healing. Rashi says Misrape, it softens, loosens. Lashon Rifya in Misrapa Vieledes Vilmale, and if Maktim Rega Echad, if it happens prematurely by a split second, it's a split second too late. Miad Mesa, the mother would die. Ben regular is chalifli. Ben Erev is chalifli. I'm not messing up this precision timing. You think I'm messing up who you are? Eov has not spoken wisely. His words are not wisdomy. And we're saying lebedas, but we're not calling it evil. A person is not held accountable for things that he might say during a time of great pain. Le Omar, lo, he didn't say to him. Now we're jumping back a little bit in the Sefer that his three friends show up. Each of them came from his place. Eliphaz from the south of Teman. Bildad Hashuchi, Bildad from Shuach, that's B'nai Yishmael, no? No, but that's B'nai Keturah. But so for Hana'amasi, so far of Na'ama, not sure where that is. And they got together, Lavai to come, Lanudlai to nod with him, Lunachmai to comfort him. What does that mean that they all came together in council? They all came in, or they all showed up at once, which is unusual because they're coming from different places. 300 parsing separating each of them. How do they know to come? There are those who say that it was Kalila Avalu. They had some sort of magical, enchanted crown that would show what's going on with him. Kalila Avalu is like Rashi, Kitarim, crowns, V'chal Kaser Shleisha, Partsufim, V'she Shemay Mechayek Al Partsuf, V'ich Shabon Yisrael Alechem Yem Partsuf Mishtana V'cheinilani, the Kamshi coming up, Alteia, faulty. So either they had a crown with the name of, each of them had a crown with the names of the other three on them, and when it would go like, then they would know that something's wrong with them. Or they had trees, one representing each of their friends. They came into Kamshi if it would have become faulty, Rashi says, but it means to wither, like Kamusha by Aravais. Havuyadi, they would know. Omar Rava said, that's what people say. If either have friends as good as Eov's friends or death. How good were they? Well, they meant well. Okay. We're not necessarily straight Eoving anymore. Oh, when Rashi this is the end of Parshas Bereshis. When mankind was starting to increase, they started having daughters. L'raiv to multiply, be the simple meaning. Rabbi Yechon Amar Revia Ba'ala Elam Rashi when there were a l'raiv up near Adama, they had daughters. What does l'raiv mean? Revia Ba'ala Elam Kishnal Dabas Vishim Maris Liais Loizera. What? Okay, girls maturing faster, so that B'nai Yildulehem is how mankind is suddenly accelerating and increasing. And Reish Lakish Amar Meriva Ba'ala Eilam L'raiv means quarrels through the girls, it sounds like. Amar Le Reish Lakish Rabbi Yechanan L'didachta Amar Revia Ba'ala Eilam B'nei Malay Nechblu B'nei Tzef Shel Eiv. Eiv has daughters at the end. He got his life, we're saying, was doubled. And if having daughters is the bee's knees, why didn't he have double daughters? Amar la, and he delay nechblu b'shemais. In terms of number of people, he did not have double daughters. Aval nechblu b'yaifi, but they were twice as beautiful. Techsev ayilai shivanavanim v'shalish banais v'ikar shemu achas Yamima, and in the first one, Jemima. V'shem Hashem is Ketzia. V'shem Hashlishi is Karen Hapuch. Yamima, Shaisa Daima Liyayim. She was like the sun, the days. Rashi. Oh, Hochblu B'Yovi Vein L'Chak Evatayv Mimano. Shtem Liyayim Barakachama. Ketzia Shayarecha Neidiv Ketzia. She smelled like cassia. Ketzia min Baisimhu. Karen Hapuch, a horn of eyeshadow. Amri Dverabi Shayla Shidaima Lekarna de Karash. That she was like the horn of the Karash, the unicorn deer. Rashi says Karneha. Mechaychu Allah b'marava. And it's Israel, they laughed at this. They worse than just no. Mechaychu. That means they laughed at it. Kana de karesh lakusai, looking like the horn. The horn is darkened. It's not a good look. It's like it looks like it's been blackened. El Amar Rav Chisda kekurkama dereshka b'minei. Kekurkama dereshka karkem shel gana gadol begina b'minei shumu'ula misha'ar karkaimen. Karkaim, saffron, derishka, the type that grows in a garden, which is even better than regular saffron. I don't see where that comes into the drasha at all. But Shenemar, Hisikri Bapuch. I'm not talking about like makeup, eyeshadow, but Karen Hapuch. I'm not sure. what the connection is. Weiter. All right, girls versus boys. Ready, set, go. Rabbi Shimon bar Rabbi son of Shimon, Isuli Delay, Barta. He had a daughter. His spirit sank. His father said, Revia ba'ala ilam. No, with the girl coming first, that means progeny, accelerated. Amarle bar kapara, but bar kapara said, ooh, interesting. It's bar kapara in the story about what Rebbe said to son of Shimon. Tanchumen shel hevel nicham chavuch. Your father comforted you with meaningless consolation. The world can't go on without males and females. Happy is he whose children are his boys. Woe betide he whose children are girls. Yipes. And also, the world is going to need perfumers and also tanners. A very stinky, foul work. Happy is he whose job is being a perfumer. Woe betide, but Nebuch, the person who has to work with stinky stuff all day. Kitanois, machlekes tanoim, vadinoi, brachas Avraham, bakol. Hashem blessed Avraham with everything. My bakol, what does that mean with everything? Rabbi Meir says it means he didn't have a daughter. Whoa. Rabbi Meir they had a daughter. That bakol is actually her name. Okay. Rabbi Elazar. Is it Rabbi Elazar or Rabbi Eliezer? I'm not sure. It's Tagninus Avram Avinu. Avram had some sort of it's Tagninus, a astrological insight. Rashi says, the kings from the east and the west would be arriving early at his doorstep to ask him things. And that is how he was blessed with everything. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, there was a precious stone hanging at the neck of Avram. That anyone sick who sees it is healed. After when Avram passed away, Hashem hung it on the sun instead. And Amar Abaye, Hainu Damri Inshi, Idli Yoma, Idli Katsira, that as the day rises up, this illness rises away. Another thing to say that Hashem was blessed Avram with everything. That Esav didn't go evil during when Avram was still alive. That Yishmael did tshuva in his days. And how do you know that Esav didn't go bad in the days when Avram was still alive? Esav came back from the field exhausted, wanting lentils too. V'tana, we learn that very day, Nifter Avraham Avinu, Avraham had passed away. Vasi Yaakov Avinu, Tav Sheshal Adashim. Why was Yaakov making this lentil stew? L'nachem es Yitzchak Aviv, as a Mesudas Havra'ah, a consolation meal. Umay Sheshal Adashim. Why lentils? Amri b'Marava. They say in Eretz Yisrael, Mishmei der Abba Bar Mari. Ma adashazu in la peh aval in la peh. Lentil has no mouth. There's no like bump. I think that's really where it would germinate from. So Rashi aval in la peh. Mourner has no mouth. Shu yeshiv v'daimim. He's just quiet. And adashim in la peh. K'meishesh the pilin shaymin kitnis come in sadak beans and other types of legumes are going to have like a crack on the side, but lentils are just perfectly round. It's another way of explaining why they're for mourners is because they are round. Mourning is also a cycle, something which goes around and comes around. What's the difference? What about using eggs? Eggs are round. Oh, Rashi says not that way. They don't have a mouth. But they're not round, they're ovoid. Quite literally. Rabbi Yochanan said about that day when Esav went bad. On that day, that sinful Esau did 5 big sins, 5 sins. He was with a betrothed maiden. Murder. He denied the fundamentals. He denied the resuscitation of the dead. And he spurned the birthright. Why is that Navera? He not degraded, but he what's the word? He was mevaze. He scorned the service which is done with firstborn. Shot is targum shel bizayin madua hek kilisani. Take me a sign. Ishtatani. Okay. But how do you know all these things? The betrothed maiden that he sinned with. It says Parshas Kiseitze about a similar case. Murder. It says he was exhausted. And it says over there, woe be I, for my soul is weary from the murders. That's Yirmiyah talking about the sound of, allegorically, Yerushalayim portrayed as a woman saying this. V'kover be'ikr, Esav denied the fundamentals. Lama zeli. Why should this be for me? This is my God. And Esav was saying, why do I want it? Denying the dead coming back to life. I'm going to die. And he spurned, he degraded the birthright, the Aveda. Period. But he didn't do that till Avram had died, and that's part of Avram being blessed with everything. Another thing we had said is that Yishmael did tshuva during Avram's lifetime. How do we know? Like this story, which will bring it out. So we have we have Ravina, and we have Rav Chama Bar Buzi sitting in front of Rava. Rava, and Rava was falling asleep. So Ravina was talking to Rav Chama Bar Buzi as if Rava wasn't actually listening. Vadai de Amrisu. It's certain that what you've said. Mishmid Rabbi Yosei, and then Rabbi Yosei, Kol Misa Sheish Ba Gevia. So Misasin Shel Tzadikim. When someone dies in the Torah, it's described as Lashon Gevia, perishing or expiring. That means it's tzaddik. Amalei in. Rav Chama Bar Buzi said, "Yup, I frekt Ravina v'ador hamabul." The Dor Hamabul, it says Vayigva, they all perished. Omar Le, Rav Chama Bar Buzi said, no. Anan Gevia va'asifa kamrina. We're talking about where it says they expired Vaye Asef Elamav and were gathered into their people. And that's where, if it says that, it means that that it's a tzaddik. What about Yishmael? Considered a sinner, and yet it says he he expired and was gathered in. Adahachi, as this was going on, Itarbu Rava. Rava woke up to this. Amr said to them, Dardaki, children, kinderlach. Hachi Amr Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said, Yishmael asa tshuva b'chayei aviv. Yishmael did tshuva during his father's life. Shneimar, vayikberu Isa Yitzchak v'Yishmael banav. That Yitzchak and Yishmael, his sons, buried him, and we see Michdi Yishmael Kashish. I'm in the back right now. The Yishmael was older. Mi Yitzchak Matayma the Kashish le Yitzchak Mikame. Why would Yishmael let Yitzchak go first? Why not tshuva of it? He did tshuva and knew his place. Va'ad Brei Yitzchak Mikame, and place Yitzchak before him. Frag the Gemara v'Dilma Derech Chachmas and Kachashiv lehu. Maybe it's not an order of them based on what happened, but more just like prioritizing them based on their wisdom. Ela me'ata. Vayikbru Esav Yaakov banav. When Yitzchak is buried, it says Esav and Yaakov. My time Chashiv v'Derech Chachmasan. Over there, it's clearly not listing them in the order of their wisdom. Ela mide aktame adburi adbure. If Yitzchak is first, that means he actually was placed first. Umide adbre, and if Yishmael did that, shmamina tshuva avad biyamav. Period. Taner Rabbanan shleishit imanagash baruch b'elam hazeh. All right, that's tomorrow's stuff, and finishing Perek HaShoftim Yitzhak Hashem. In which case, we'll be done with this heavy Agadita soon and getting into La Yachba. Yitzhak Hashem tomorrow. Shkayach to all my thousands, millions of loyal legions who are watching these shiurim and engaging.